Derek, we're back for another Mars Bromont CCI weekend. What do you have in store for these guys this weekend?
Well, the event here is, I think, one of the great 4-stars in the country, and there's a lot of terrain here. I think it gives a great experience, especially for people coming up from the U.S., because you do feel like you are in a foreign country, and so it gives them that experience. And for the horses and riders, I think that just going and traveling over this the ground here, the terrain which goes up and down, is such an education. Never mind having to jump the jumps, but I think that just being able to get out and gallop on the country here is really good.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, we see a lot of riders that are in the 2 and the 3-star with some of their younger horses, and they're riders that have been here in the 4 almost every year. But it's very telling that this is a place they know will help them produce a horse.
Oh no, this is without a doubt, and I think that if you want to bring a horse here by Sunday, you're going to know, I think, a lot about your horse and whether it's got a future probably moving up the levels and hopefully potentially becoming a 5-star horse at some point.
Yeah, you know, we can look through the winners list of horses in the 2, the 3, the 4-star here, and you can sort of see the chart that their careers go on, and they keep moving up the levels. We've had championship horses come from here and other things like that. What's changed this year in the course, especially in the 4-stars, we look ahead to Saturday?
Well, I think that again the track's relatively the same track, but the jumps change quite a bit, and so the combinations are, in effect, they're all a bit different than what they were in previous years, and so you're just trying to keep it fresh and give the horses and riders a course that's actually going to be educational for them and help them in their move to the next level.
We know you always set a question early on in the course. Where's this year's sort of first big question for them?
I think that it's probably once they get through the first 4 jumps, it's really at fence 6. And I think that that's sort of a little bit of a wake up, and they've got to be on their toes there. And then beyond that, it sort of gets fairly regular in the questions throughout the course.
Well, we always love being here at Mars Bromont. It is such a beautiful venue. We always love, the riders, everyone I talk to, they love your courses because they're so forgiving to horses, but horses seem to understand them, I think, a lot of times maybe better than the riders when they first go out.
No, it is something where you're always trying to produce courses that the horses understand. Obviously, you want to have the best ground for the horses, and producing the right shapes, putting the right shapes of jumps where they should be, and hopefully we've achieved that here.
There's meant to be some rain coming in on Saturday. You guys had a lot of rain here last week. The ground feels pretty good right now.
Well, I think, obviously last weekend it was quite wet, and so the good part is it's been quite dry and warm actually all week, and so it's been drying really, really well. And I think that we can take a bit of rain on Saturday, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we're going to be done by the time that the rain comes in later in the afternoon, and we'll have a great day.
Well, Derek, as always, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to a great weekend.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Okay, so here we are at fence number 6, AB, on the 4-star long at Bromont. We're just coming into our 2nd minute on course, and we'll be galloping straight downhill after finishing our first water jump. They've given us this nice open oxer. It's fairly square to kind of give the horses a little half halt, sit them back, get them up in the air. And then when you land, a nice sweeping right turn down to this horseshoe, which you can see by the magnitude of it behind me, is going to be a drop fence. The horseshoe will also shoot the horses up a little bit in the air, so this will be a fence that you will see the riders opening up, sitting back, slipping their reins a little bit. And then as they land, the terrain actually does a beautiful job of kind of pulling us in as we come down to 6B, which is this brush skinny. And again, it's a really nice kind of opening combination for this 4-star long course. It gives the horses lots to think about, gives them the feel of the land, of the terrain, and should be fairly inviting for them.
Well, we're here at beautiful Bromont here in Canada. We're coming up to fence 8A, B, C, and D of the 4-star long coffin. You've gotten done your first few elements. There's a good water jump, a good combination coming down the hill. Then the horses get into their rhythm and they start to kind of roll downhill. And just before the coffin, you see we have a very tight turn with a steep uphill. And so the horses then, it's a good way to get them back under control and paying attention. And this coffin comes early, and it's always influential here at Bromont. It's big rails in, it's quite a steep downhill to a ditch, and then 1 stride on an angle, and then 2 strides to a skinny. I think you'll see all kinds of different variations of how this fence is going to be jumped. Usually, I like to jump the trees to help get the horse in the air. But it looks to me at this one, if you jump the trees, you're almost going to be pushed out a little bit on the wrong line. So I think they put a Christmas tree here to stop people from cutting the turn. So you really have to get a true coffin canter. And the way I see it is you want to jump these rails just slightly to the left of center. There's a bush on the C element that you can aim for. And then you'll get 1 stride down to the ditch, and then just sort of open the right rein. It'll be 1 stride over the C element, which is the angled rail. And then it should be 2 nice strides out to the skinny triple brush. This fence is always, again, on frangible technology here, which is obviously a great thing for the sport, but we do have to be careful that the horse gets his hind legs in the air. When they see the ditch, they tend to want to sit down, and that can be an unfortunate 11 penalties, but still worth it in the safety of the horse and rider. So we're happy to have that, but you'll see all kinds of different things here, but the ditch being so far below the takeoff of the A element makes this quite a difficult fence. But it comes early in the course, so the horses should be fresh. So you may see all kinds of different stride patterns, but I think it'll work out well. So you kind of see the line for me is just slightly left of center, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1 stride should put you close to the ditch. Then you should land here. 1, 2, 3, 2. And again, it'll be a little bit of a short stride, but the ditch, they never tend to jump that far out. They tend to jump up. So this 1 stride will be nice. And this 2 actually walks normal, but I could actually envision it being a little bit long, because generally when they jump angle fences, they don't end up going out so far. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 2. 2 strides, but you know, the 2 strides would be to the top of the brush. So it's, to me, it's a little bit of a long 2 on the way out.
So we're here at the double corners at fence 10. We've just come from the bottom field. They've had a bit of a gallop now. The riders should still have some horse underneath them, a lot of power, but this is a very difficult question. You've got to come in here, be very accurate on your line at the first corner, knowing you have this second corner where the ground slopes away. So the rider's going to have to make a choice here and then be ready to react, because you have what is a pretty forward inside 4 strides to this second corner, which is hard enough. But when you get here, the ground slopes away. Everything tells the horses that they want to go left. So you're going to see horses coming in here being very brave in 4 and jumping this great. You're going to see horses coming in, holding a little bit, probably some outside 5s. Both of those lines will work. I think if horses and riders are going to make the time here, they are going to make it by staying positive and forward early on the course. So if horses are adding here, they're going to have to make up some time later. If the riders and horses have an issue here at this brush corner, they do have an option. They can go around and jump the black flag option over there, which is definitely an easier option. Typically, you're going to see horses go for this, and if they have a problem, then they'll go to the black flag option. There is the possibility to jump the A corner a little bit slow. They would have to turn inside of the direct route corner and go and jump that corner over there. That could get them away here clear on the first attempt, but it is going to take a significant amount of time, because after they jump that corner, they then have to turn a completely around 180 and be ready to go. So I think this is going to be an incredibly influential fence and one of the most cool jumps to watch.
So this water combination comes right after a hard corner combination. It's number 12 in the 4-star long. There's also the coffin before that at number 8. So you've definitely gotten into some difficult combinations and gotten through them before you come to this second water combination. In the beginning you have just to go through the water and jump a jump on the way out. So this jump looks pretty normal probably, but it actually rides huge. They jump very, very big into this. It's very steep. The water isn't very deep this year, which is nice. There's not as much drag. But you jump this, you're gonna wanna get your horse kind of put together a bit. They're gonna be running downhill after that table. Put them together, have a nice jump here. Depending on how experienced your horse is the angle that you're gonna jump this on to make the next 2 angled houses as easy as possible to get through without any penalties. There will be a number of strides between this A and B combination. There should be probably 3 strides between B and C, but I think there'll be a lot of different numbers here. But I'll go ahead and walk it kind of in the middle to see what it looks like. So this is the 4th stride, pretty straight line, just waiting for these 2 cabins to line up. So that walks 7 strides. I wouldn't probably count when I was riding if I was doing this combination, because anything can happen. They can have the first stride really short or long. And the most important part of this part of the combination is getting a very positive ride up to this cabin so that the horse can lock onto the next part. This is a pretty serious combination. I think it will ride really well though. You can swing out if you need to make it a little bit easier for the greener horses. So typical Derek, really nice design.
We're coming up to jump 16, which is about halfway through on this advanced or 4-star course. So the horses are probably moving forward nicely now. This is quite a technical combination. It's quite forward, and you've got the ring, a lot of atmosphere with the warm up and everything around you. Okay. So it's a nice 5 strides, but it is pretty bold. So you need your horse between your hand and leg, nice and square. You want to make sure they're paying attention for that, because this is a pretty solid skinny here, and it's quite wide. And then you've got a corner that's quite bold coming up. It's a nice forward 4 as well. So it's a good question. I think you're going to find out where your horse is at this point, but they should be flowing and nice and forward and in front of your leg. And then you do have an option. So if you don't want to do the B, C here, you can also go inside that, come around to this skinny, and then loop around to the skinny over there, which will take time, but quite inviting if your horse is a little bit greener.
From kind of round through that gap in the trees to from fence 19. This is fence 20A, B, C. There's an oxer back there. So for this jump, if you can see me over there. For this jump, I think we need to be quite positive, and thankfully it is going uphill a fair amount. So kind of balancing right here, let him kind of see it, and then as I'm getting closer, I'm gonna jump this a little bit, kind of in the center, but a little bit left to right. So I'm already going towards the B element, which is the double brush kind of boxy thing. And I'll be thinking here that I'm letting my horse's neck out so the horse can use his neck to jump in no matter where I get to. He can get his legs out of the way and produce the best shape. And that generally makes it, you know, it's a safer place to be for me. Then I can kind of sit back, sit behind him, and be positive those last few strides in. As I'm jumping in, my eyes are on the B. Probably gonna land out here. So I walked actually 4.5. Let me go walk that again. Probably gonna land a little more out here, kind of aimed almost a little bit at the white flag of the bee. And a positive 4 strides out over the bee. And in the air, I'll be looking towards the C, the corner, and just kind of holding him on his line. It feels like it's a bit forward, but the hill is going to help drag them down there a little bit, and it's a little late on course, so the stride will be a little more open. So just basically hold them on the line. And a nice 4 strides. Keep them on the line, jump, jump.
We're here at fence 23, A, B, C, D. This is a really challenging part of the course. It's as the course goes on, the horses get tighter and tighter. If I was guessing, we'd be about 8 minutes at this part of the course. I just walked this early. I think it's going to be 4 strides down to this corner. Maybe you could sneak a 5th stride in, but by this stage of the course, they're pretty long and strung out. I find this corner brutally tough. It's sort of everything guiding you towards running out left, and the ditch brush, you sort of got to angle out to jump it. That's a very, very challenging fence. There is an alternate down there. Take a look at this. That's an easier corner down there. So I think you can go over that jump instead and then do a little bit of a U-turn and then come back up over that table. Or maybe it's the other way around. I think you do the ditch brush, the table, then go up over that right-handed corner. Obviously that's very tiring and a bit twisty and turny for the horses. And if there's a way of getting the direct way, this ditch brush, 4 strides over the corner, that would be the ultimate. By saying that, I'm really, really glad that I'm not riding in this class, because this looks like a very challenging jump.